while everybody's getting their names written down, if you haven't seen your name, Sean, you still have a moment to do so. And then Claire's gonna be giving something away. Claire, tell us what you're gonna be giving away.
So I am going to be giving away a Kindle Paperwhite. Actually, this is for my item because I have one myself and I very much love it. It's great for vacation, great if you're at the lake, at the pool. If you just want a small little thing to have all your books on. And my pro tip is to put pop top on the back. So then when you're laying on your side or if you're at school or something, you can just hold it that way. But yes, so
Look at this.
like changing, that's my.
And there's no emails on it, there's no text messages, there's no Instagram. I can actually just.
The battery also lasts like 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how much you use, so very nice.
Wow. All right, well, is everybody in that wants to be in for the good? And I might even send you, I figured out that with the 47 credits I have on Audible that I can share books with you.
You're gonna start your own exclusive book.
Yeah. This is Nick's book.
Even more up to.
Yeah. 42. So there you go. 47. I sent one to somebody last week and they were able to access it and open it and use it. So maybe you'll get an MREA from me. All right, we ready? Bring it on down. And the microphone. All right, I'm just gonna hold that again. Yeah, try not to look. Great. Like, where's my guy? Okay. All right, well, congratulations. Glad everybody is here. We are going to get started because we got some cool stuff to share today. Unlike a lot of our days, constantly bringing in new opportunities for you guys to learn. Today we have an opportunity at maybe one of the highest possible levels we've had in this room. I think the only person that I can say even was close is Gene Rivers. Gene was awesome in here too, so we're glad to have Rick here today. We're gonna just jump right in. We're gonna skip our Gratitude Tuesday just for timing today, you guys. And Mark, come on down, Mark. Where are you? Oh, I'm like, where's Mark? All right, so my man has had he's had joint replacement surgeries. He's back on his feet and he's here and take it away, brother. Oh, and also he's doing the brackets again. So
yeah,
you got.
If you want to be in the basketball bracket, let me know. I'll send you the email today. I don't know if it starts today, if it actually starts Thursday. I don't know. I'll send it to you. So real quick, I just want to talk about 10 title problems that could delay it or even cancel a home sale. And they're just ones that kind of like the top 12, I think that could come up that you might not think about, you might forget about, or helping your sellers and buyers because they're getting ready. And so public record errors, human error. I mean, that happens a lot. And it's something that can be corrected, but it can definitely delay closing. Unknown ownership claims, that happens often. Something to think about. Judgments and liens, there's many of them.
Release mortgage.
There we go. Unreleased mortgage. That can happen. Especially if you have somebody who passes away, or I mean, when mortgage company when they aren't put into when they send them into the county and they aren't recorded properly. Outstanding tax bills. That happened. My grandpa, this happened once. My grandpa years ago had somebody call him from the county saying, hey, somebody's here to pay off your taxes that you're behind on, and they have to buy the house back. I don't know if that's still the deal. That can absolutely happen, but this was many, many years ago. And the guy was trying to buy his house from him underneath him. Mechanics liens. Easy, many things can happen there. Child support liens, bankruptcies. So these are just some of the things that can delay or even stop closing. I bet he's running back to change it to the page. They have many things to do. So Then there's just four more. Illegal deeds, forgeries. That's a big one, especially on raw land. You'll see that often. Forgeries, unclear property boundaries, restrictive covenants. So these are the kind of the top 12 that we see. And then fixing the title issues. Some are easy to do, and some are not as easy to fix. They take a little bit more time. And then just kind of goes to some other things. Nice to have. You can print these off. And then have that with you. So just something to have as you talk to your clients. I would recommend that if you're either sellers or buyers, you have an O&E done so you know what's coming up ahead of time. Easy to do, and your title company should be able to help you get that done prior to either selling the property and or buying the property. So do that ahead of time. Any questions?
That's an O&E.
It's an owner and encumbrance. So yeah, just ask your title company to do that, and you should be able to do that for you. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day.
Eighty percent of the people.
Yeah.
No idea what.
Right, now we're going to invite them. And it's something we should all pay very close attention to.
Yeah, I had kind of a weird, horrifying call from another broker. We did nothing wrong. I don't think they did anything wrong. Has to do with open houses. Someone walked into an open house, felt that they were maybe discriminated against because the hostess or host did not pay attention to them when they first walked in. They were maybe busy talking to someone else. They filed a discrimination case with HUD. Evidently, this is happening in our local market. I think we hear these things and we go, oh my God, that's. This is here. And the takeaway is when you start an open house, it has been suggested. You have the MLS printout, you have your sign-in sheet, and you have agency. Take a snapshot of the three together at the beginning, take a snapshot of the three together at the end, so that you know exactly who signed in case someone were to make a claim and they maybe never were even there. I'm just gonna have a Dropbox folder. You might use Google Drive. I'm just gonna dump them in there. They'll be date stamped from when they get dumped in. I'll hopefully never ever have to look at them. Easy thing to do to protect yourself though. But when someone walks in, if you're busy talking to you, at least make eye contact and just for coming, I'll be with you in a minute. Please sign in and finish your conversation. Don't ignore them. Okay, I don't know what the demographics of the situation were. I don't know what the demographics of the agent were. But a fine $60 grand. Evidently HUD believes the person before the agent. The assumption of guilt is there. So you do have E&O insurance. Todd has confirmed this with me. We don't want to use it. So please be nice to people when they come in. Eye contact. Don't be so busy typing up an email that you kind of ignore someone. Make sure people feel welcome. Sounds like common sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I am gonna take the extra step. Yeah.
Okay, just one comment, for that, okay. Just one comment, Spark has a link with a couple information in 7 languages, because somebody asked me in an open house why I have only Spanish and English. And thank God nothing happened, it's not me, right? But just in case have something in other languages, Spark has a link. It is not a lot of information, but at least it's about who is the real estate agent, how to choose the real estate agent. It is in 7 languages. So if you want to be more protected, bring someone else and have it with you.
Could you share that link on the Rockstar page? Awesome. All right, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Protect yourself.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so A couple of years ago, there was a quick reminder of how we do things. So how you do things in an open house, or how you do things in general, when you do them with consistency and a model, you keep yourself out of trouble, right? So if you're gonna greet people, greet them always the same way. If you're gonna ask for them to acknowledge agency right away, do it the same way every single time. When we don't do it the same way every single time, somebody gets butthurt and then decides they're gonna go. And maybe there was something here. Luckily, it wasn't one of our people, but you know, pay attention, you guys, to how you do things so that if anybody ever comes back and tries to pin you down, you get to say, wait a minute, I do the same thing every single time. It looks like this. And I can prove that by having this. You have all the stuff in a row. So do yourself a favor, guys, just take an extra step and pay attention there. Thank you, Lynn, for bringing that to our attention, because that's obviously, nobody wants to pay a $60,000 fine, right? Especially for something that you might not even know you did. All right, Sean, let's kick it off. What do we got next? I think we have our special guest. All right, guys, so, our guest today is someone you should take a moment. That's why I'm single home you are here today. Take a moment, take some notes. What Rick is going to be sharing with you has defined his business and his career. We are talking about something that's fresh off the main stage. He downplayed it a little bit more than I'm going to, but to be on the main stage with Gary Keller, Todd, is it that they do about 600 interviews around the country to determine who they're going to end up putting on stage. And Rick was one of 3 people on stage with over $1 billion of joint production annually. So if you guys can think about what that means. So I want to invite up today Rick Rubin from Milwaukee. He's right here in our region. Give him a warm round of applause, you guys. Welcome him. Thank you. John, do I need to do anything up here?
You probably will, because I'm a lot of things, but tech savvy is not one of them.
I'm just here because I look good. That's
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, so you wanted me to go.
to be Bob Parker today too.
Fair enough.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, let's just do it. Wow, look at that. Okay. Terrific. Well, thank you for having me. I'm here to pour into my Keller Williams brothers and sisters. I'm not a public speaker. I flew in from California last night to Milwaukee, drove through the night to be here, simply because I want to share with you things that weren't shared with me when I started businesses early in my life. I got into this 10 years ago, would have loved to have had some feedback 10 years ago. So I'm here doing what I thought I needed and didn't find. And by the way, I wasn't at Keller Williams. Had I been at Keller Williams, there would have been far more reasons. So my least favorite subject to me, but I have to get this out of the way. So we have a team of 20. This year we should do about $200 million in sales. Last year we did 150 million. We've attracted 2 top producing agents that will put us over 200 million this year, which we're excited about. That's not why I'm here. There are plenty of teams that do that. I'm here because of that 150 million, year in and year out, 95% of that is either repeat business or referred by a past client. So when I say referred, I'm not talking about referred from an agent where there's a 25% fee or any type of third-party source. These are referrals from past clients, and then obviously people using us again. So we've created what I like to call an attraction-based business. So as opposed to buying leads, which I don't think is sustainable, or chasing people around, I'm just not up for calling people 5, 6, 7 times to get their business. I went about building something that was attraction-based, where people are calling us. So what I'd like to do is go through a little bit about how to do that, and then leave you with some action items that you can actually, use in your business. You can walk out of here with some things. So one of the things you'll hear me talk a lot about is we're in an incredibly competitive business. There are something like 1.5 million agents. Last time, only 4 million homes were sold in this country. 2012, there were 900,000 agents. So we have kind of 600,000 more agents fighting over the same amount of business, which is quite a challenge on it. So when I got into this 10 years ago, I bought a small team in Milwaukee. That's how I got going. When I got into this 10 years ago, I asked myself 3 questions. Who am I? How am I different? And why should anybody care? And we all need to be able to answer those 3 questions. If you don't know how you're different, how's anybody else going to know? And if you're not different in my market, that means I'm competing with 5,500 agents. So I looked at, you know, as a agent coming in 10 years ago, you know, it was by and large sales training, right? So a salesperson chases leads, they convert appointments, they overcome objections, they close people. That just didn't feel like me. I didn't feel like that was going to be my calling. And, you know, I looked at the experience I had in the past as a home builder, and we had an architectural firm, and I thought there's got to be a different way than just being, you know, roll up my sleeves, get the deals closed type of provider. So what I decided was I was going to be an advisor rather than a salesperson. Now, there are big differences between being an advisor and being a salesperson. First and foremost, you need expertise. You don't need to be an expert to be a salesperson, but you need to be an expert to be an advisor. That means that you're an expert on neighborhoods. You know, how does one neighborhood perform versus another over time? In my market, I can tell you the 8 or so neighborhoods that I primarily operate in. I can tell you how each one of those is done since the last peak in 2007. You need to be an expert in the homes that we're selling, right? In the structure and the finishes and all of that. And then you need to be an expert in all of the aspects of the transaction, the negotiating and the documents, all of that. Unfortunately, that last part is what we learn when we get licensed, but the expertise above and beyond that in terms of neighborhoods and homes, we have to develop when we're in the game. So an advisor is an expert, number one. Number two, an advisor plays the long game. So we're not looking to, again, close deals. We're looking to put others' interests ahead of our own. So an advisor is, I always like to say, I'm detached from the outcome. A salesperson just wants to make a sale. An advisor wants what's right for my clients. Oftentimes, what's right for my client when I meet with them is maybe to stay put in the house that they're in. Or maybe they're not going to look over here, they're going to look over there. Like as an advisor, I'm trying to give them all of the data and information that I can so that they make a really wise decision. Sometimes that decision is not necessarily moving ahead at the pace they plan. And then the advisor puts their clients at an advantage and protects their clients. I want this to be a little interactive today. So does anybody have a thought about what you could do to put a client at an advantage? First question is always the hardest. Okay, so I'll give you 2 examples of how we communicate to our clients that we're putting them at an advantage. Number one, we pour into our co-broke relationships more than anybody in our market. We're the only ones that do a big party at the beginning of every year to reflect back on last year. We have, we really do it up. Everybody that we did a co-broke deal with for all the prior years are invited. We give away gifts because I'm a firm believer that we're all on the same team. I'm here today because we're all on the same team. So by having a relationship with all of our co-brokes where we're really mentoring, pouring into them, they come to our team meetings, like our competitors come to the Falk Rubin Gallagher meetings. We act like they're not there because we're trying to create this bond and let them see how we do business. We do all of these things because if there's a jump ball, like if there are 2 deals that are even, One is ours and one is someone else's. 9 times out of 10, we're gonna win that for our client because we pour into co-broke communities so much. Another way to put a client at an advantage, you know, it's been where our market is very much a seller's market. So there aren't enough homes to go around, let's say. So we're always looking for off-market opportunities. We're always mailing. We're always doing all these things to find these opportunities to put our clients at an advantage to see something before somebody else might. 2 examples like that. An advisor also protects their clients. When you protect your client, you're having conversations like, look, you're a first-time home buyer. You're stretching to buy this house. Maybe it doesn't make sense to not have an inspection. Like a salesperson, oh, an inspection, we might not get our deal done. An advisor says, look, we might not get a deal done, but I'd rather not get a deal done than to have you bite off a house where there are things that are really going to put you in harm's way. So we're always looking to protect our clients through our contracts. So how do I establish when I meet with a client that I'm an advisor, not a salesperson? The first thing I do is I explain to my clients that despite seeing our signs all over town, I've never sold them. And I let that sit for a second, and people are always kind of surprised. And I explain that I'm an advisor. I give 5 pieces of advice, and my team is the one that will sell your home. So what are those 5 pieces of advice? I tell people, I'm going to be involved in helping you determine what we need to do to get the home ready, what we're going to price it at, when it should come to market, what do we do if we get an offer, and what do we do if we don't? That's what you're paying me for. You're paying me to think and to provide you great advice. I'm an admin-based team, so we kind of built our team differently than the millionaire real estate agent book. That I bought it 10 years ago. We built the admin side up first. So listing coordination, contract to close, marketing, we built that all out and then started hiring salespeople. All of our admin team, everybody's licensed, everybody's super qualified at what they do, kind of the best in our market at what they do. And I explained to a client, there's going to be somebody alongside me through this whole process from beginning to end, taking you there. And again, I'm in the advice business. I found when I was just starting out, again, 10 years ago, I was coming off a business, the construction business, where, you know, nothing was below any of us. We all jumped in, did whatever we needed to do. But I found when I was doing everything the first 6 months to learn this business, clients were kind of treating me differently. You know, if I was, you know, there touch-up painting and fluffing pillows and like doing all of these things to get their house ready, which I thought showed how much I cared, they didn't really look at me as an advisor anymore. And they didn't really stop to listen to the advice I was giving them. So I started relying on outside help for those visible things. You know, I would explain to the clients that it's not a cost, it's an investment in the property. And if we invest a few dollars in the property, you're going to get more than that back. And we can drill down on any of these things that you want to. But by removing myself from some of the day-to-day, it freed me up to come in at a certain level and speak to them in a, you know, the way they would speak to an accountant or attorney, somebody like that. So why would you take my advice? And we're going to come back to differentiation in a second. But if you're going to take my advice, what is that really worth? And do I have skin in the game? Well, I'm a firm believer, and we kind of started out this talk about differentiating yourself. And if I'm going to be in the advice business, I'm going to back that up with 2 guarantees. The first is a seller performance pledge. So if somebody if somebody approaches us to list their house, we have all sorts of prescriptions for them. You know, like the advice that I give them, here's all the home prep we need to do, here's the staging that we need to do. It's at their expense. Here's what should come to market, here's what should be priced at. We go through all of that. provided that they follow all of our guidance, and provided that the home is, you know, immaculate and show ready, we have appointments, and, provided that they pay us a full fee, and commissions are negotiable, but I have a fee, that I demand. Provided that they do all that, I give our clients a list price, and we're really good pricers. Like, we spend a lot of time with them explaining the pitfalls of overpricing a house. So we set a list price, we give them a guaranteed price, which is some amount less than the list price. And then if we don't deliver on that guaranteed price, we will refund part of our commission. It really drives us to price these homes right. Because I don't want to be writing checks back to people, but I'm willing to do that to show that if you take my advice, you're going to succeed. On the buyer side, if somebody buys a home from us, and they have to move for any reason in 2 years, if, again, they have to follow all of our prescriptions, but if we can't sell that home for as much or more than they bought it for, we will share in the downside up to a certain dollar amount as well. And I like to say to people, we only win if you win. And that is, you know, part of this advisor mindset. Over the last couple of years, I've written one check to a seller. I've written a couple checks to buyers that had to move. The amount of return that we get on those checks, I always write them with a smile because I want people to know this is real. Like, this is real, we'll stand behind you, we'll make it right. Any questions before we move on? Yes.
So the pricing for the seller, so you say you're good at pricing. I mean, are you like giving them a price that like you absolutely know it will sell for, or are you trying to push the market at all? Or I'm just curious, like, at what point do you actually then pay them?
Sure. So the list price is what we believe to be the market price. We're always looking to generate competition. So we're firm believers that you're more risk overpricing than you are underpricing. And I can only speak to our market, but anything under $2 million in my market has more buyers and sellers. So we try to be at what I like to call the high end of reasonable pricing, and that guaranteed price, which only the seller and we see, is some amount off that, because who knows what the market is going to produce. So, you know, on an $800,000 house, let's say, maybe we listed at $799 to create some competition. It ultimately will probably sell for $825 in our market, but we might say your guaranteed price is $780 or something like that.
Okay, so you do come down a little bit from what you guys decide don't.
For sure, yes. Okay. So, if you become an attraction-based business where 95% of your communication is people calling you on your cell phone saying, hey, come on over and this is my house where I want to work with you to buy, you have to pick an audience. And that's really tough, especially in the beginning when you want to be all things to all people because you need whatever work you can get. You have to have a goal in mind. You have to have a vision for what your business is going to look like. And you have to have an audience. So let me go through kind of how I've developed my audience. So number one, I had to ask myself, who's going to listen to me, right? So I'm an old guy with gray hair. I'm not going to necessarily resonate with first-time home buyers. So I have to look at who's going to look at me as being credible. Number two, well, let me back up. So the audience that I found to be credible with was 50-plus-year-old wealthy North Shore sellers, North Shore downtown sellers in Milwaukee. That's my audience. And I really tailor my message to them. So they will listen to me. Does anybody here work with first-time home buyers primarily? Okay, so what is the problem that most first-time home buyers are feeling?
What our experience is just fear.
Fear? That's a good one. Competition, totally. You know, if there are 20 offers on a property, you have a 5% chance of succeeding. Savings,
Lack of money?
yeah, lack of money, affordability. So these are all problems unique to first-time home buyers. That's why you've seen the average age of a first-time home buyer climb from late 20s to late 30s, which is remarkable. My audience is facing a different problem. Before I started speaking specifically to my audience, I assumed that their problem was where am I at? Am I gonna find something that I love? That's not a problem. That's not what's keeping my clients in homes that no longer serve them. You know, when you look at baby boomers, you have an inordinate amount of people, Nick and I were talking about this, you have an inordinate amount of people living in homes that no longer serve them. About a month ago, there was an article in the New York Times, and it said that in the 70s, there were 4 million empty bedrooms in this country. Today, there are 31 million empty bedrooms. That just tells you how many baby boomers are sitting in homes that really no longer serve them. We're either those people or we know those people. So I learned in focusing on my audience that the problem with my audience is not where am I going to move, but what am I going to do with all my stuff? That's the biggest stress that they have. And we developed a process for here are the 6 places that your things are going to go. And here are the people on my team, who are on my team on a contract basis, that are going to help distribute all of these things. And in addressing the problem that they were facing, you know, our business took off, my business took off in that audience field. You need to know what your audience values. You know, a first-time home buyer is probably going to value access, the ability to win in competition, some of those things. My sellers want kind of honest advice and great, like white glove service. And then a really important question to ask yourself is, what are you synonymous with? If you're going to create an attraction-based business where people are calling you, what is it that people think about when they see you or hear your name? You have to be synonymous with something. That something can be a product. I have a friend, Chris, who is synonymous with downtown condos in Milwaukee. If you're going to buy or sell a downtown condo, you're either going to work with Chris or you're going to talk to Chris too. And Chris has a 50-50 chance of coming away with that opportunity. I have another friend, Bruce, who sells homes in what we call lake country, which is 6 inland lakes. They sell for multi-million-dollar starting point. He's synonymous with inland lakes. If you're going to buy a home on an inland lake, you're either going to call Bruce or you're going to call Bruce too. So to be attraction-based, you need to resonate either with a product type, a geography, or a demographic. First-time homebuyer would be a demographic. Your church or your kid's school would be a demographic. Obviously, location can't be so large that it's not a location, right? The tighter your location that you're synonymous with, the more attraction-based you're going to be in those areas, and you build out from there. Is anybody here synonymous with any of those things, a product type, a group? Yes.
Foreclosures.
Okay. So among people that are interested in foreclosures, they know that you're somebody that's knowledgeable, that's been through them, that can handle them. That's a definite advantage. If you and I both get a call to meet with somebody, and it turns out that it's a foreclosure, I'm going to be BSing my way through that appointment. I've never done one. So you're going to win those, you know, one-on-one competitions. You're also going to get people to call you for the foreclosures. Anybody else? Yes.
A lot of, people I know are going through the empty nesters wanting to, wanting to downsize, so that group, but also their adult children as first-time home buyers.
Hmm.
And so, and then when you know the family people, first-time home buyers, you have a trust from mom and dad, even if the kids are maybe they're still that, so it's just opposite ends of the spectrum.
Absolutely. And by concentrating, and those are great points, by concentrating on an audience, that doesn't mean that that's the only people that you're working with. What that means is you're super relevant to those people. You're having honest conversations with them that matter. And then you're picking up everybody around them. So like we do a lot of work with my clients' children, and it's just great business.
When you talk about, when you identified your audience, are you saying my audience from the team down, everybody, or each agent that you put in a leadership position, their audience?
Good question. So while I run a team, I'm going to talk about us as individuals. So my audience is a group of people in basically a 20 square mile radius. It's like 2 miles wide and 10 miles long. And, generally they're people that I cross paths with, that I'm in the same point of life. I can have a lot of we conversations. So I'm talking about myself. Okay. Helpful so far? Okay. All right, if this works, this will be great. So I might lose a few of you here, but I don't generate business from social media. I just don't. And a part of that is that my audience looks like me. But when I'm looking to add a teammate, I don't go on Facebook or Instagram to find a teammate. I go out and I talk to people I trust. Who's out there? Who you think would be great on our team? And then I'll check Facebook or Instagram to make sure they're not a freak, right? So I try to run my business that way as well. I look at social media as a way that my clients are looking at me just to make sure that they're not making a mistake. So I don't personally lean into social media a lot, but I do sit down twice a year and make video content that is honest conversation with my audience. Oftentimes what I'm doing is I'm just reiterating the conversations I'm having day in and day out in a video. And then I use these videos before or after appointments. So for instance, if a client has a dog, I have a dog video about moving with a dog. So I'll meet with them and I'll say, hey, time didn't permit for us to get into the moving with the dog, but I have a dog, I feel very strongly about that. I'll send them a video afterwards. It's a great way to find a common bond. All of the videos, I mean, they're boring, but they are not boring to my audience. So I'm going to play a 3-minute video here if I can, that shows how I speak to my audience specifically. And this particular 3-minute video is how to price a home. And am I doing this or are you, Sean? Yep. Okay. Oh, no. It won't play from. Oh, okay. Right, wait a minute. How do I get that to play for everybody? Names up here. Oh, I think. Turn on this audio.
You can try that. Okay. And then we can echo. Let me just. Okay. And then. Yeah, all right, I get it.
I guess we might not be playing the video here. I will do my best impersonation of me. I've never done this through Zoom before, so that's why.
Sean, can you mute the mic? Or turn the knob down? Maybe?
About the correct way to determine what your home is worth.
We're gonna get
Then
an
let's
echo.
follow that with the worst possible way to determine your home's value. It might surprise you. When determining what backwards and we look forwards. What do I mean? Let me
Can everybody
explain.
hear this?
Comparable sales, the most common way to value a home, is backward looking. It's an important step. What did homes similar to yours recently sell for? We look at things like location, acreage, the home's overall square foot.
All right. All the best, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for trying. Okay, so this is a typical video that I send out. And it basically, what I'm trying to accomplish is how do you go about pricing a home? But I didn't want to basically start out saying, hey, this is how you have to price your home. So what I did is I talked about, there are two ways that agents price a home. One is looking backwards and the other is looking forwards. When you look backwards, you're looking at comparable sales and you're comparing bedrooms, bathrooms. I won't bore you all with the details because we all do this for a living, but I explained how we look backwards. Looking forward would be, what are the days on market? How are they trending? Is inventory going up or down? How many expired listings are there? Like, we're looking for trends to suggest that the market is getting better or worse. I explain both of those. And then I say, okay, now let's talk about pricing a home. The worst way to price a home is to call 3 agents, tell them you're in competition, and then ask them what you should list your house. That is the worst way to price your house, because one of the pitfalls in our industry is that when we're in competition, we put rose-colored glasses on because none of us want to be the person with the lowest list price. And the only people that lose in that scenario is the consumer. It drives me crazy. So what I explain is, don't go about choosing your price that way. Don't even talk about price with the people you're interviewing if you're interviewing multiple people. Talk about their approach, talk about their track record, talk about what they'll do to get the home ready, when it's going to come to market, all of that. And then understand that price dictates process. That's my favorite line in working with somebody to price their house. Price will dictate the process that you're looking for. If you come to me and say, hey, Rick, I'm thinking about putting my home on the market. If I get X amount of dollars, then we'll go out looking. If I don't, I won't. That's a totally different process than, hey, we're having another child, the house is too small, we need another house. We can't screw around, we have to get this house sold. So I kind of explain the two processes. I ask people, what process do you want? And then we start to develop a conversation around a home price. So in my video, I explain, get comfortable with one of the 3 agents. So their approach, their track record, the way they do business. Pick that agent, and then pick the process you want. And that's how you back into price. So that's how I'm talking to my clients. I'm talking to my audience in ways that's relevant and real with them. Exciting? No. Relevant? Completely. Okay. Now. All right. Everybody's favorite subject, systems. Whether you're an independent agent, and don't worry about seeing any of this. looks like this is the reason, it's because you don't need to see it. This is maybe a quarter snapshot of our process when we list a home. So we have about 300 steps in our process from the phone ringing to a couple weeks after closing, 300 steps. I don't need anybody to answer this out loud, but I want everybody to think in their head, how many steps do I have to get a house sold? The answer is 300. We all have 300 steps. Some of us are aware of what they are, and others of us lay in bed at night thinking, oh, shoot, like, what did I forget? I know I was supposed to do something today. We all have the same amount of steps. Developing a system, whether you're an independent agent or on a team, that's a workflow of everything that happens from beginning to end, allows you to bake your brand promise into what you do. So for instance, with my clients who want certain things, we talked about their needs and values, I can make sure my process accommodates that. My process is going to look slightly different than their process, because it's a first-time home buyer process that's looking for slightly different things. In all cases, it's about communicating. If you think you're communicating too much, you're probably communicating just enough. And when you look in the margins, so these are constantly getting audited, but in all of these margins, we're looking at what is our client feeling at that given point in time. Because so much of our business is repeat and referral, I want to know what are they feeling and how are we addressing their feelings. At some points of the process, they're confused. At other points, after an inspection, they're upset. Like, does our system recognize the way they're feeling? Does our communication recognize that? And we're constantly tweaking that so that our systems support who we say we are and what we do. Other advantage, couple advantages of systems. Systems buy you time. So I have an inordinate amount of time. I spend half my time out of state. I can only do that because I have strong systems rather than strong people. Now, let me qualify that. I have incredible people on our team, incredible, but they're plugged into a system. And if any of those people have to leave for one reason or another, having a baby, moving away, whatever, we can plug somebody else in right away, and it doesn't blow up our whole operation because everybody's trying to either pick up the pieces or train someone. So systems and procedures allow you more time. They keep you from being overly dependent on the people you have, and they let you deliver on the promise you're making to your people. So when you pick an audience, you differentiate yourself. That's a totally obnoxious picture. My girlfriend put that in there. It's a rental on vacation. But the point is, I don't work nights. I didn't work any nights last year. I don't work weekends. I don't have any stress, business-related stress. We all have stress in our lives. I don't have business-related stress. I have more income flexibility, and I have time to do things that are meaningful to me. Driving through the night to come here to talk to you for free, that's meaning for me. Like, by attracting people and delivering on my promises, I'm being able to do the things. I'd much rather be in front of you all than sitting at somebody's kitchen table. Both are important, but having all those things allow me to have the lifestyle that I want all of you to have. So let's look at 3 action items, 3 things that we can all do to implement more attraction-based energy to your business. And let's just have a real conversation around these. So number 1, why don't we attract more people? The answer to that, I've thought a lot about that, certainly in my prior businesses, is that honestly, we're wired for the wrong things. We are wired to be liked and to be admired. And that's not what wins business for real estate agents. And that's why so many real estate agents are so terrific are not doing incredible business. Just think about if you or a loved one suddenly had pain in your chest, radiating down your arm and in your jaw, like we all know that those are signs of a heart attack. When you're feeling that, or your loved one is feeling that, you're not racing to the hospital looking for someone that you like. You're not racing to the hospital to look for somebody that you personally admire. You're looking for a doctor that you trust. Trust is the currency in our business, and the best way to develop trust is to be an advisor and not a salesperson. To be an expert, to have kind of the long-term perspective for what's best for your people. You might lose one deal, but you're going to pick up every home that person ever buys or sells, plus their families and friends' purchases and sales. So number one, you have to ask yourself, am I building trust? Number two, you have to differentiate yourself. In my market, there are over 5,000 agents. How many agents are there roughly in the market here? Greater Minneapolis, St. Paul? About 17,000. 17,000. So you have 3 times the competition, and maybe you're 50% bigger than Greater Milwaukee. I don't know, but so it's incredibly competitive here. If you don't know how you're different, nobody's going to know how you're different. And you have to be different to build the business that you're going to want to build. So I make myself different with my guarantees. Does anybody here have something that makes them unique in the marketplace? Okay, let me give one to the group that sounds difficult, but it's not difficult at all. One of the nice differentiators that I see people do across the country is being able to come into somebody's house and give them an offer right on the spot for their house. Now, most of us are not in the position to write a check for somebody's house, but here's one way that we've done it that's worked well for us. And I usually tell people, look, I'm going to give you this number, but it's not a number that I think you should take, but I think you need to know what that option looks like. But all that we've done is we've went out to a couple of investor flipper types, and we say, look, we want to go to everybody that we meet with and say, here's what we're recommending, here's our advice, here are our guarantees. But if for some reason you want out and money is not your objective, here is the price that we'll write a check for today. That's typically 15 to 20% off what we think the home is worth. I don't want somebody to sell their house to us, but I want them to understand that those are the types of numbers that they're going to get from the type of people that do that for a living, and those people aren't going to leave without a deal. I'm just putting that out there so that they understand that that is one of the options that we can provide. So if you're looking for ways to differentiate yourself, partner up with an investor that has the capital to do that, and at least you're going in there with something a little bit different than other people. In my market, I see people that give away staging. There's somebody that bought a moving truck and repainted it with their logo, and they let people use it for free when they want to move, and it's just a rolling billboard for them. Like, it's important that you're getting calls because you're different, and then when you're in their kitchen, you're winning because you have something to offer to other people. Okay, and then my last, this is my favorite. I wrote a book called The Attractive Agent, which is available on Amazon, but I'm working on my next book, which is all about how we look at databases totally backwards. It drives me crazy, and it's, again, the salesperson versus advisor mindset that we find ourselves. So I'm not a coach. Coaches are tactical. Coaches are really important. Math coaching is great. I'm a mentor. I'm strategic and not tactical. I'm big picture, you know, going back to those 3 questions. Who are we? How are we different, and why should anyone care? Like, I'm all about answering those questions. So the focus of my next book is looking at our databases the exact opposite way. I like to look at things opposite. And a coach will tell you, go through your database and mark whoever's in it. An A is somebody that's going to buy or sell in the next, I don't know, however many weeks you decide. Maybe there are people that have worked with you a couple times, but put in there, who's an A to you? And then go through and put who's a B and who's a C. Maybe a C is somebody that might not transact. Maybe you don't know them. Maybe you picked up their name at an open house. I don't know. I look at it totally opposite. I don't want to know who's an A to me. I want to know who am I an A to. That's all I care about. So I look at my database and I go through there and I say, who am I invaluable to? And it's very humbling. You know, if you have 1,000 people in your database, you're probably, if you're not proactively thinking that way, you're probably invaluable to 20 people, maybe. So my personal, I don't have the typical goals. One of them is to become invaluable to as many people as I can. And I measure that by people that work with me time and time again, people that refer business to me, but most importantly, the people that are calling me for advice outside of real estate. When I'm getting calls for where someone should go on vacation, or what attorney would I recommend, or, you know, we're trying to decide between 2 colleges for my kids. I'm getting those questions because I've developed that level of trust with people, and they know if I don't have the answer, I'm going to find an answer from someone. So the other most important thing you can do is go through your database of people. I don't care if it's, for many, your database is just the names in your telephone, whatever it is. If you have it in command, wonderful. If it's your telephone, start looking at your business as being incredibly valuable to people and then growing that list. If you do that, you will attract the business and life you need. So that's how you become an attractive agent. Feel free to reach out. As I mentioned, I have a book on Amazon. It's a $20 book. I try to be a little bit of something to everybody. That's not really the way I run my team, but in terms of writing a book, I cover things for first-time people all the way to people that run big teams. That's available on Amazon. I also mentor people one-on-one. I have very little time to do that, but I'm happy to mentor people one-on-one. If anybody has a question, you know, just in the course of life about their business, I'm always happy to hop on a call for a few minutes and answer a question. I do that constantly. I enjoy that. So let's take the few minutes that we have left. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has. Yes. So you mentioned that you added a couple of agents to your team to expand your geographic territory. You've got a team that's 20 agents. You've got a system and model that was like at a very high level for your team. What would attract joining your team versus just staying on their own and being independent? Great question. I'll just repeat it in case anybody on Zoom didn't hear it. So the question is, how do I attract people to our team that are successful independent agents? Why would they come and pay a split, which is more than they would have on their own? You know, it all boils down to, I think we all want the same thing, right? We want to make more money. We want to work less. I have to scratch both of those itches. So for me, I have to build an environment where there are the best professionals, that's the admin team, the people, and the best systems, and the best reputation, because that reputation is the wind at your back. So I started out by envisioning the team that I wanted and how I wanted to live and feel on that team. And then I did so in a way that other people could do the same. So that's how we have a $50 million agent joining our team. So that's the way I've done it. But let me explain, because so many of the people I talk to are independent agents that are thinking about joining a team, or they have a small team. It's important that you have a vision, you have a goal, a lighthouse that you're aiming for. so that you end up where you want to end up. So for anybody that is looking to build a small team, what I always explain is, you know, so many people just, they hear the titles and they go ahead and hire these people. I don't think that's the way. If you're an independent agent, I never was, but if I was, this is what I would have done, because I did a variation of this when I bought the small team I bought. And that is, you start with an org chart and you say, I'm an independent agent right now, but in a few years, I want to have buyer's agent, a listing coordinator, and a contract to close person. And we're going to be the powerhouse team. Well, what you do when you create that org chart, it's not names of people, it's roles. And then you create a job description, a very detailed job description under each role. And you understand that as an independent agent, you're going to be doing all of these things yourself. You're going to learn how to do all of these things. Then the next step is probably you're working with a TC, you know, that you're paying $300-400 to help you get over the hump with those. Some people hire a listing coordinator next. Some people hire a buyer's agent next. But if you know what the skills are that they need to have ahead of hiring them, and you understand that I'm going to go from doing all these roles to just one of these roles, that's how you build a team. And I don't think most people go about it like that way. And I always say, if your director of operations was your nanny 2 weeks ago, that's not really a job. I think the titles are a little overused. Any other questions? Now's your chance. I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes, and if anybody has any individual. I do want to leave you with this thought, though. So I've been fortunate to surround myself with great people and to build a great business, but I am no different than anybody in this room. I was sitting where you were sitting a couple years ago. You know, I'm new to this, and I just tuned out a lot of what was going on in the industry. I had a vision for how I wanted to treat my clients and what I wanted my life to look like. And anybody that wants to build an attraction-based business, you can do it. You have to focus on things a little bit differently, but it'll come to you. Within a couple of years, you will be sitting up and talking to a room full of people, hopefully trying to help them do the same. Thank you.
Appreciate it, my friend. You guys, he's gonna stick around a little bit. We've got pizza in the back. We've got even more coming, so don't be afraid to eat. Go get it, and be sure to ask Rick some questions if you have it.